It was almost Halloween, right on the cusp of October, on the night September would officially end. I had tucked in early, 11 p.m., looking to get enough rest for work in the morning at 6 a.m. There were times back then when I would listen to a show or YouTube video to fall asleep, and for the life of me, I can't remember if this was one of those nights or not. Anyways, I had lied there for some time before the dreams finally overtook me. I think it's important for you to know that I dream every night. Even if I can't remember the specifics, I can always remember the feeling of the dream. Maybe on those nights my brain just needs a night to rest from itself. Tonight, though, was different. The first thing I remember is nothing. And it stayed nothing for quite some time. Just pitch black, no noise, no vision, no feeling. But I can remember staying there for 40 minutes maybe. And it did not disturb me, being aware of this emptiness. At last, though, something happened. I can remember looking up as if I had been staring at my feet, or rather, where my feet should have been planted this whole time. The awareness of it just wasn't there, and it wouldn't be there for most of the dream's remainder. Looking up now, though, I was staring at my street, from way down on the end, looking up that hill where my parents' house still is, dead center from my vantage point. The world had no color, not even values. It was just pure black or pure white. The sky was black, but most of the buildings were white. I don't think there were any trees. I can remember feeling the need to go home. I felt tired. I needed to rest. So I began up the way, walking past these once familiar buildings now rendered as white rigid shapes. But anyways, the walk took about 5 minutes. It was like I was taking my time, maybe to absorb some more of the atmosphere, but also maybe because I was afraid of reaching my home. But I did get there. And when I did, I took a brief pause before going in. The house was bathed in white, just like the others, but the overhanging porch cast a shadow over the front door, like looking into a cave. Somehow, on muscle memory alone, I found the doorknob easily, as though the disorientation of the two tones meant nothing to my subconscious. And so I pushed and entered. The house was like stepping into nothing. The air was still, and the temperature was indeterminable. It was neither cold nor warm. Maybe it was matching my body temperature. Not a sound could be heard. Around that landing area, the usual car keys table was gone, and as I ventured forward where it forked off into the dining room and living room on the right, the hallway on the left, I realized so was everything else. Among the white and black, the furniture, photos, and the people were nowhere to be seen. My home had been reduced to empty rooms, stripped beyond the natural to the point that only light and shadow remained. No decorations, no people, no personality, no love. I had a terrible realization then that I had to go to my room, though exactly why I'm still not sure. The hallway was long, but no longer than usual, and my room was past 2 doors on the right and all the way down. Without breathing and without feeling, I walked past the gaping doorways on my left and right, unable to penetrate the darkness beyond with just my human eyes, and so I didn't blink. I was afraid to do so. But I realized then that I didn't need to. Maybe there was no need here, without air to dry them out or without tears to wet them. Maybe time didn't exist here at all. But despite my wild thoughts, which I tried to distract myself with, I did reach that door. Closed. And so I opened it. The room was black. Nothing was there, though I don't know what I was expecting. And it was then that I started to get a tingling feeling on my back. Unease began to creep its way through my nervous system, up my spine, down my veins, and out my now clammy skin. And it felt like that nervous response signal, whatever, had alerted something. And in turn, I was alert to it. I began to whimper as I made my way further into the room. I thought of closing the door, but then I would be cast in complete darkness, so instead I left it cracked and began to make my way to the farthest corner, perhaps for comfort, where my desk once was, where now nothing remained. Not even the light from the hallway could fill that space. This space was for me. The last corner in this damned world with which to run to. But it brought no comfort, as my fear evolved again. I heard a noise, for the first time since I'd arrived. A ringing, like when you get that feeling in your ears when, I'd assume, a machine is turned on far away. And then I heard the sound of the front door. It opened nonchalantly, like my mom had just walked in from running errands or something. But it felt like, it had a feeling, which is strange all on its own. The house was now cold, and the ringing's reverberance was now overlapping itself, creating new patterns which built on top of each other. And both the cold and the ringing only grew more as I began to realize that whatever was home was looking for me. And my room would be the logical first place to look. I was already sitting on the ground, but now I began to curl up in some defense of whatever was coming. I didn't hear its movement, but I felt it. I had a feeling it didn't walk. It moved at a steady pace, and I knew it was now at the first door on the right. And that unease evolved into fright, and that ringing evolved into a screech, and now it was at the second door on the right. And that fright evolved into terror, and that terror evolved into dread, and that dread was now a choir of yells and discordant tones screeching in rhythm constantly over each other until my ears began to physically hurt. It was at my door. And though I wanted to close my eyes, I knew I had to look to see what would. And the doorway widened as the door opened inwards slowly and completely. My head felt warm with the fluids boiling under the pressure of the noise, but the chills still shot through my body, outside my skin, feeding fear to this thing which was upon me. And as my mind raced in anticipation for the sight I was about to behold, there was a brief moment of quiet as the blackened outline of a small head peeked around the door frame, making undeniable eye contact with me, despite the empty sockets. And then I was awake, but the sting still remained. My first instinct was to turn on the light, but I didn't. The pain went away, like it was never there, but What remained was this feeling of emptiness. With other nightmares, like sleep paralysis, I felt paranoid once it was over, mixed with relief, but this was just nothing. And that changed as I smoothed it over in my mind, unsure of what shape it would take, be it fear or something else. But as I thought about it, I realized I didn't feel scared. I felt sad. So instead, I just sat in silence until my alarm began ringing.